Hello, 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 beautiful people. Welcome to Good Morning with me, Misty B. Now listen, did you guys know that June is Black Music Awareness Month? I'm going to be completely honest and say that I did not know that. But guess what? I am so glad that I now know. Doing a little research on it, it was actually created in 1979. That's when it came into existence, and it was solely for the purpose of honoring African American musicians who have contributed to different types of genre of music in this country. That includes anything from jazz to rap, and yes, even rock and roll. So yay, I'm so happy. It's Music Month, and guess what? We're going to talk about music today. Now, you're going to learn this about me. I am full of stories. And one of my funny stories about music is that my mom used to drive me absolutely crazy playing R&B music in the car all the time. I'm sorry, old school R&B, you know, Teddy Pendergrass, Luther Vandross, Frankie Beverly and Mays, some of those people. And I remember telling her when I was about 12 years old, Mom, when I get a car, guess what? I am going to do nothing but play rap music, and that's all I'm going to play. Well, I lied, because look at these things. This is literally some of the music. These are literally my personal albums, the Gap Bands. I have here Michael Jackson Off the Wall. I am that person literally with an old school record player in my place, and I'm that person who plays Anita Baker, sips wine while she's cooking. So yeah, that's who I am, but guess what? I'm grateful for it. But guess what? My guest today, his name is T.C. Tompkins. He is what you would call behind the music legend. He has worked with some crazy names: Sade, Luther Vandross, Frankie Beverly and Mays, Teddy Riley, Teddy Pendergrass, just to name a few. And guess what? We're going to be talking to him when we get back right after this break.
Move up at Ron Carter Cadillac. Drive the new 2021 Cadillac XT4 Luxury Collection for only $319 a month. The new 2021 Cadillac XT5 Luxury Collection for only $399 a month. Both for 39 months lease with just $1 down. Or purchase either and enjoy 1.9% APR for 60 months plus bonus cash. Gulf Freeway, just 2 minutes south of the Beltway.
Shop smarter when you shop Ron Carter. Ron Carter Cadillac.com.
My prenatal promise is to make sure my baby is safe and healthy, because I know it is possible to acquire syphilis, HIV, or other STDs without knowing it. Getting tested is my very first chance to protect my baby. Doctors are required to give expectant mothers 3 separate tests for syphilis. If you're pregnant, ask your doctor if you're being tested properly for syphilis and other STDs. Congenital syphilis can lead to a miscarriage, stillbirth, or an infant death. Don't risk your baby's health. To find out more, visit myprenatalpromise.com.
Welcome back to Good Morning with me, Misty B. Are you ready to meet my guest who is in-house today? He is what I would call a music legend, though he would not refer to himself that way. And you probably have never even seen his face or even heard his name. But guess what? He's a legend. He's worked with wonderful artists like Sade, Luther Vandross, Teddy Riley, just to name a few. Welcome to the show, T.C. Tompkins. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Awesome. So, you know, your story is phenomenal.
Thank you.
You are a legend, okay? Let's be very clear.
Well, I've worked with a lot of legendary acts. That would probably be a better way of putting it.
Well, I'm going to call you a legend.
Okay.
And this is my show, so I get to call you a legend.
You do what you want to do, absolutely.
No, but seriously, I have to start with Sade, okay? I think I became a fan just a few years ago, probably after falling in love, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
And so, right, who wouldn't fall in love with Sade? Talk to me about how you met her, how you got into this industry. I just want to know all the details.
Well, I got into the industry because I just had a passion for music and really didn't have any background in it. It just took a shot at it because I was working in retail, matter of fact. I managed a jewelry store for Zales.
Okay.
When I got back from Vietnam, I went into this management program for Zales Jewelers. And while I was working for Zales, I used to sell a lot of custom rings because I was in Memphis. When our first store I managed was in Memphis. I used to sell a lot of custom rings to Stax, to guys that were musicians at Stax Records.
Okay.
Like Eddie Floyd and Barkays and all those guys. I got to know all those guys, and I just had a real desire to get into the industry, and got a job with Stax Records, and then went on from there.
Okay. So a little birdie told me that you were pivotal in bringing Sade to the U.S., that the U.S. wasn't sure how they were going to introduce this type of music, if her audience was black, white. What was your role in that?
It was very political. Well, at the time that Sade was signed to Epic Records, she was with one of their custom labels, a label named Portrait. That was our overseas label, the label that was the European label. And she was doing excellent in Europe. I think her album has sold like 2 to 3 million copies in Europe. But that style of music was not happening in America. You know, in Europe, there's no formats. They just play, they play good music, play good R&B, good pop, that kind of stuff. So they don't have formats like we do here in America. So they were trying to find a format that they felt that she would fit into. And they sent a cassette over back during that time. And we used to have these meetings. They used to have all the vice presidents and directors, national directors, would have a marketing meeting every 2 weeks. We would meet, have lunch, and discuss the upcoming acts and what we were going to do with them and our plan of attack and that sort of thing. And they passed out this tape on this girl named Sade. And they passed it out, and nobody did anything with it. Anyway, they sat on that album.
Nobody did anything with it?
No, well, they didn't know what to do with it. They really couldn't figure out what approach to take to it. Because I think during that time, disco was big. And disco had kind of taken over radio, and wasn't in the urban AC format at that time. It was R&B. Hip hop was just starting to happen, but it was basically disco. And they had sent several of the pop vice presidents over to meet her. Unbeknown to me, I had no idea. They just kept saying, what we're going to do with this girl, what we're going to do with this girl. They were under a lot of pressure because she was huge in Europe. And Epic did not want to fall on their face if they released it here in the U.S.
So what did you do? What was the role? What did you do?
They kept making suggestions to her, which she turned them all down. And I told them, I said, look, I love the music. I had been living with that cassette, playing it constantly for probably about a month. And I said, let me go over to Europe and talk to her. I think she'll go for my plan. I had a marketing plan that I had conceived in my head. And so they had shot every other shot. Everybody else had gone over. So I flew over to Europe, met with her and her management, and convinced her that my marketing plan was the plan that would break her in America. And she was her number one concern, and I never will forget this when I first met with her, is that she did not want to be considered an R&B act. She did not want to be considered a black act. And you have to take that in a certain sense, not in the sense that she was trying to deny being black, but she did not want to be formatted. And seeing in music, if you get locked into a certain format,
it's hard to get out of that.
Trying to get out of that format is difficult. And you want to have a crossover record or get appeal to a broader demographics or broader audience. So you want to be handled in a certain way. And she was smart enough to know that the way her music was going to be approached and handled would be the destiny of how she would be accepted. So I convinced her that, I was very arrogant, and she was very arrogant.
I can see that.
Yeah, no, you can't see that. And she was very arrogant, So we really kind of bumped heads at first. Because she felt like I didn't know what I was talking about. Because I chose a single.
Because you were young, right? How old were you?
About 25, 26.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't have listened to you either. Let me be very clear.
I understand, So I wanted to pull a single off the album that she hated. Hang On To Your Love. She hated that track. She did that track way before doing the album, and just put it in there, kind of fill it up. She had, Smooth Operator and Your Love Is King, all the monster records in there, but I didn't want to pull any of those, I felt that Hang On To Your Love would fit what was going on in America at that time.
Okay.
And if you go back and listen to it, it has a thriller. It has a thriller bass line in it. Okay? And I felt that would be recognizable to the American audience, and it would be acceptable, and the record would happen. So we made a bet, matter of fact. She told me she felt like I was going to fall on my face, and I told her she didn't know what the F she was talking
Did
about.
y'all bet cash money?
Oh, no. We just had a little bet between us,
okay.
I wish we had bet
Right?
cash. Yeah. But she told me she thought it was going to fall on my face. And I think at that point, at the length of Diamond Life, which was the name of the album at that point, it had been out so long that it had started leaking into New York and certain metropolitan areas. And we had to do something with that record ASAP. So I brought her to America, set up a marketing tour. We did a press tour. We stayed on the road for probably about 2 months. And released the record. Record was successful.
Okay.
And album went on to do platinum.
Okay, TC, I want you to hold that thought. We are about to go to break, and we will be right back with some more from TC Tompkins.
Move up at Ron Carter Cadillac with the new 2021 XT6 Luxury Collection with standard third row seating for just $459 a month for 39-month lease with only $1 down. Or purchase and receive 1.9% APR for 60 months plus $2,500 bonus cash. Gulf Freeway just 2 minutes south of the Beltway. Test drive the new 2021 Escalade today at Ron Carter Cadillac.
Smarter when you shop Ron Carter. RonCarterCadillac.com.
I'm a part of the Prenatal Care Club now, taking all my STD tests.
Did you know your doctor's required by law to test you 3 times for syphilis and HIV?
Yes, my husband and I are making sure I get all 3 tests.
Good. Testing is the key to preventing congenital syphilis.
And good prenatal care is your first labor of love.
Glad to hear your husband is so involved.
Thank you. Yes, taking all my STD tests for syphilis is important to both of us. My prenatal promise is to prevent a stillbirth or miscarriage. To find out more, visit myprenatalpromise.com.
Welcome back to Good Morning with me, Misty B. I have the legendary, the music legend, TC Tompkins in the studio. And we just, we're talking about all this music because June is Black Music Awareness Month.
Sure is.
TC, I know we're talking about Sade, and I want to stay there for a second. I have to ask you, though, what's your favorite Sade, not album, song? Give me one track.
Love's a Crime.
Ooh, I like that one, too.
Yeah.
I love that one, too. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Love's a Crime. Yeah.
I
And I'm probably partial because I had a chance to see her perform those in London. When we were getting to know each other, because when I went over there to meet her in her band, because one of her co-writers, which I really liked, was this guy, this sax player named Matthew Stewart, and he was a real lad. And I followed her around on her tour for a little while, so I kind of got a chance to see her perform in front of the European audience.
And what year was this?
Oh, this is shit.
80?
81, something like that, yeah. And I stayed over there. I stayed over there in Europe for about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know she did a farewell tour in Atlanta a few years ago. My best friend lives there, and he got a chance to go, and I was like, I want to go. Come to Houston.
Oh, yeah.
But she didn't make it. But I want to talk about somebody that I'm a fan of. I'm a fan of Sade. But my mom loves Luther.
Who don't?
She got on my nerves. Do you hear me? I want to be very clear. Growing up between Luther and Frankie Beverly and Mays, like can we clean up to something else?
I broke Frankie Beverly and Mays.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right here in
Houston?
Right here in Houston and New Orleans, yeah.
Well, I want to tell you about Luther, my mom's personal story. Hope she don't kill me. So my mom, I was about 7, 8 years old, and she was working for American Express at the time. And she told me that she would log on to Luther's account and saw that he was going to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles about 2 to 3 times a week. And this was, I was 7. This is 1990.
Okay.
So yeah, but anyway, I thought that was so funny.
That's Luther.
That's Luther, right?
Oh, that's Luther. When we were on tour, we used to have to stop and get Kentucky Fried Chicken when he was. I'd never forget. We were in Detroit going for a press conference, and he wanted to pull over. He had to get him a bucket of chicken, and that's probably why he left here early. I mean, I hate that, because I mean, Luther was just so talented.
He was. He looked like he opened his mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Like, wow,
you
didn't even try.
It was
Effortless.
an instrument.
It's
crazy. Yeah.
I
think he's the best balladeer that there ever was, really.
Can you sing? I'm just curious.
Oh, no. I have no voice.
You have a nice
whatsoever.
baritone.
Yeah, well, they say I have a great radio voice or something like that, but no, I can't. I couldn't carry it. No. Matter of fact, I did get a chance to sing, and this is going to sound legendary, but I did sing with the Temptations and Tina Marie one time when we were in the studio.
What song was that? Temptations and Tina Marie?
Yeah, that was what was this album she did? Love a Girl.
Oh,
that was
okay.
that was a single I did for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Temptation, who were you? Otis Redding? Like, what were you doing with
No,
Temptations?
we were all in the car hanging out. We just came back from lunch, We all on our way to the studio. And just hanging out, having a good time. And she said, come on in and do something. She said, TC, come on, you do a good and I did a couple of harmonizing, but just hanging, just messing around. She said I had a decent voice, but I never tried anything.
Never tried.
Matter of fact, when I was in high school, I did try to be in a little vocal group.
That didn't go too well.
Nah, I was more of a sports person.
But look, let's talk about the people who can sing.
Yeah,
Clearly it's not you and I.
Not me.
And I'm okay with that too.
Not me,
So
absolutely.
Luther, what was going on in his career when you broke him into the industry?
Luther was cutting commercials.
Really?
Yeah, all the big commercials back in the day. If you go back and listen to them, that's Luther's
Like jingles?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he cut all the commercial jingles, Pepsi and Kentucky Fried, all that stuff. That's what he was making his living off of, was cutting jingles.
Okay.
Now, and I think this is so stupid, but I'm going to tell this story too.
Okay, tell it.
Luther was signed to another act. He had another label. He had a group called Change, which had a huge record. Searching for so long. That's Luther. And they dropped him, from what I heard, was because he was gay.
Really?
Yeah, the president.
It was the 80s, so.
It was, back then.
That wasn't necessarily. But dang, they dropped him?
Yeah, sure did.
Okay.
Yeah, he was.
You came in and saved the day?
I can't think of the guy was named that was the president of Atlantic at that time, but they dropped him.
So is that when you came in and put your cape on and saved the day?
I wish I was. I wasn't the one that signed him. Jerome Gasper was an A&R person in New York, which other people did take credit for his signing, but Jerome Gasper signed him. And he came into my office, matter of fact, one day, T, I just signed this guy, I want you to come over. He had an apartment in New York. Luther had a real nice apartment in Manhattan. And we went over and met Luther and hung out with him a little while. Real nice guy, real sweet person. And they brought in his first project to us, which was Never Too Much, which I just died over. Which was a spectacular album. And I loved working with Luther. Luther was a perfectionist, but he took instructions. He never gave me any problems. He was very sincere in his efforts. So a lot of acts are very hard to work with.
I've heard. I don't know that, but I've heard.
Yeah, just hard to work with. One of my acts I used to have problems working with all the time, but I loved, was Teddy Pendergrass. Teddy was big fun on the road. He'd get you in trouble. Just hard-headed. Just
didn't want to do right.
Yeah, just ignorant, just ignorant. But I used to love Teddy, man. Me and Teddy used to have big fun on the road.
Now tell me this. Well, I have to know this. Favorite Luther song? Give me one. Only one.
God.
Maybe two. I'll give you two.
I don't know, Superstar.
Oh, mine too.
Yeah. You know, and I'm kind of partial to Bad Boy because I was there when he cut that, and he cut that right before we went to Hawaii. But I mean, shit, Luther, Never Too Much is one of my favorite, and you know that track will never go. Luther Vandross, two of the tracks, three records that I broke are still on the radio as much today as they were when I broke them. That was Toomey, Juicy Fruit.
I have that album.
Okay, and they use that track on everything.
Yes, they do.
In Between the Sheets, Isley Brothers.
But you have not mentioned Michael Jackson.
And well, you didn't mention Michael.
Okay, well, you're going to blame it on me after you talking about him too.
You talking about when you work with you talk with Luther, you work with Sade, you didn't even mention Michael.
Because I was trying to say, I don't want to say it, but I was trying to say the best for last.
Yeah.
So, Michael Jackson, like, tell me what that was about.
Well, it was, you know what, as stupid as I was back then, when they first signed the Jacksons, well, you know, I just thought it was the Jacksons, you know what I mean? And it's something that you've been aware of or knew of your whole entire life. I really didn't put that much into it. But then when Michael started talking about he wanted to do a solo album, I got involved with Off the Wall.
Okay.
You know, but I worked all the stuff before that, Victory, Destiny, you know, all the stuff that he did with his brothers.
Never heard of those.
Yeah.
I'm too young.
Well, but Emilia could tell you about that because Emilia went out and worked. Now, he didn't work, but he was at every Victory Tour concert.
He wasn't working, he was playing?
Oh, no, he was at the concert.
Okay.
Emilia would fly around and I'd be in Dallas, Emilia would show up in Dallas. He'd show up in Los Angeles. So he had concert tickets to all the shows. He'd go to every show. And that tour with Victory Tour with Michael and the Jacksons was one of the biggest tours. I mean, it was just huge. It was just a sellout. Matter of fact, I have the world's record. I think I had the world's record. I used to stay at this, the Westwood Inn. It was a hotel out in Los Angeles. It was nothing but suites. It was out by UCLA. And I used to stay there all the time, so they knew me. But when I came out to Los Angeles for the Jacksons Hollywood Bowl concert, they say I had the record for more people on hold for tickets than any other guest there. Because, you know, I mean, everybody wanted to get to the show. That concert ticket was the hottest
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was the hottest ticket in town. But Emilia and I went to Michael's house, visited his homes, went over to his mother's house. I spent a lot of time.
I've seen pictures with Emilia with Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
I think I've seen some photos of you, but I want to tell you the story.
That was arranged by me for him to go out there
okay,
to do that.
Mr. I'm Not Legendary. It was arranged by me. Okay, Mr. T.C. Tompkins. But I really do want you to know before we wrap up, you are legendary. Like, seriously, you've done some things. I'm going to say my age. I don't care. I am 39. You have done some things that people my age didn't even think was possible, and you did it in a time where it was probably less possible than it is now.
That's true.
And so one of the things we pride ourselves on with this show is bringing people to the table. We call it the winner's circle, right? But it's people behind the scenes. You don't have to always be in the forefront to be winning. So I want to thank you for being on today's show.
Thank you for having me.
I met you, and I'm glad I met you. I do want a Sade album, but we'll talk about that later. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Move up at Ron Carter Cadillac. Drive the new 2021 Cadillac XT4 Luxury Collection for only $319 a month. The new 2021 Cadillac XT5 Luxury Collection for only $399 a month. Both for 39 months lease with just $1 down. Or purchase either and enjoy 1.9% APR for 60 months plus bonus cash. Gulf Freeway, just 2 minutes south of the Beltway.
Shop smarter when you shop Ron Carter. Ron Carter, Cadillac.com.
My prenatal promise is to make sure my baby is safe and healthy. Because I know it is possible to acquire syphilis, HIV, or other STDs without knowing it. Getting tested is my very first chance to protect my baby. Doctors are required to give expectant mothers 3 separate tests for syphilis. If you're pregnant, ask your doctor if you're being tested properly for syphilis and other STDs. Congenital syphilis can lead to a miscarriage, stillbirth, or an infant death. Don't risk your baby's health. To find out more, visit myprenatalpromise.com.
Did you enjoy today's guest, Mr. T.C. Tompkins? I absolutely did. As you heard, he does not think of himself as a music legend, but he is. He really, really is. And we have to give kudos to everyone behind the scene, just like we do those who are on the scene, because guess what? If you had no one behind the scene, then this would never happen. You know, speaking of music, and because it is Music Awareness Month, African American Black Music Awareness Month, I'm thinking about, Miss Beyonce, and I know I'm talking about her a lot, but wouldn't you if she blessed your business with a $10,000 grant? And I was just thinking about how I literally had Be Good, which is her philanthropic brand. I had that on a food truck on my vision board. I literally learned how to manipulate Photoshop, and I created a vision board. It was 2019 to be exact. And I put her food truck on there, and I put that one day I'm going to work with Beyonce. I never had an idea that that would turn into her philanthropic brand blessing my business with a grant, but guess what? It did. And I'm saying all this to you guys to say, continue to dream out loud. Whatever your vision is, make it plain and put it on paper and visualize it. Watch it come true. And guess what? Let it go after you watch it come true, right? After you think about it, don't be so attached to what that looks like, because it may show up in a grant. It may not show up in a food truck. And guess what? That is okay. If you have a question for me, or even if you have an inspiring story that you want to share with us, email the show at info@americanstartv.com. We'll be right back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. See you guys then.